Hey y'all, I'm back. Okay, so I am back to talk about Belle Collective. I have watched the Belle Collective. Let me turn this down. I have watched Belle Collective. I have also watched the interview with is it Latrice and on Carlos King's podcast. So I am coming to you with the review on both of those things. Let's get into it. We start this episode off with Latrice and her husband, Cliff, and Josh. Okay. Josh is a friend. Now, we get more context of this friendship. So Latrice is like, Josh has been there since the very beginning. She has been her friend before she even met her husband. Josh is a guy who she has been speaking to about her marriage, all of the about her dating and about her marriage to this man. So therefore, this it makes more sense as to why Josh feels comfortable currently living in their house. I don't care what the reason is. I know it's because he can't move because he lives in Jackson in a place where there's the water problem. This is their justification. At this point, what do you do with a man like this? You put him in a hotel because you got to get up out my house. Mm-hmm. But he's put way too much input, and he feels utterly comfortable with. Of course, look. I'm not going to say I disagree. I absolutely agree with him that Cliff is not someone you should be with. Fundamentally, I'm going to take you back to the first season. There was a season where she's beginning to talk about what she wants to do with her career. She wanted to start this hair bundling thing, and this is the thing that she wants to do and expand that. And her husband, I don't, if you remember, he tells her what you're going to do, and then he leaves her. Like they're sitting there, this is supposed to be their romantic night, and he goes off on her and he leaves her sitting there by herself. I don't know if any of you remember, but the way that he spoke to her then and the way that he left her, it was embarrassing, humiliating. And the thing is, every season, the way that he speaks to her always is humiliating. And yet, she stays, which is fine. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't stay with your husband, but I'm just saying that Josh cannot be living in your house with your husband and saying all of this so freely in your house, and you're going to be like, I'm siding with my husband. No, you know what, you may feel that you're siding with your husband by speaking up for him and saying, okay, let's shut this down, let's end this, let's do it off. But I'm gonna let you know, you don't dead it because because uh you're still living there. I'm gonna say something. I was good friends with someone, and I still consider him a friend, but we don't talk like that anymore. And the reason why I had to disassociate myself with him to be so close to him is because he made some comments um, with my husband present about my husband. And about how this marriage isn't going to last and how he figures it's going to be a quick thing and, blah, blah, blah. Whether or not it, you know, it's fine that he's entitled to his opinion, and I'm not even upset at him saying his opinion. But the fact that it bothered my husband, and to the fact that it bothered my husband, and my husband didn't say anything until years later, uh made it clear that I had to set a boundary. And I think that Latrice may think that she is setting boundaries, but she's not. So part of me is on Cliff's side by saying that you cannot have someone in this house that's disrespecting me. And especially, which I don't even like the fact that when Josh says I say stuff to just have him turned on, that right there would have been the end part for me. Because what you're not going to do is you're not going to come into my house and anything you think, say anything you want to, and you purposely do it so that you can cause an argument with my husband, you guys arguing, and then he's going to look at you, look at me like, you really about to have this person talk to me like this? And then I'm going to be like, no, don't say that to him. And then this guy still lives in our house. This guy is still going to be, because I'm gonna flip this on you. If Cliff had a friend who said some of the things, even if he may be correct, if Cliff had a friend, a male friend or a female friend, gay, straight, whatever, who said the things to you that way in your house, you would have a problem and you kick that person out. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I wouldn't want anybody to come up in my house and disrespect me. And I wouldn't want somebody to come into my house and disrespect my husband. Especially when you're not a mother, when you're not a relative. I mean, even relatives, you have to be a little touch and go. But for a friend, so I say all that, and I even say that I'm a fast forward a bit. At the end of this show, Josh and Latrice and another friend are at a lounge, and her husband, Zaddy Gliff, comes in and pulls her out, and they talk, and he's like, take the mic off. He throws the mic on the ground. He breaks the mic. He tells the cameras to back off. This is a private matter. He calls her a bee. He calls her a snake. He grips her arm tight. And I'm really disturbed in a number of ways. I don't disagree with Cliff's being upset and being like, you still hanging out with this dude, even though he's talked to me sideways. I don't disagree with his point. But I do disagree with the fact that you're going to do this in public. You're going to track me down and do this in public. That's a problem for me. I'm even more annoyed because I listened to her on the podcast, or and watched her on YouTube. It's on YouTube. And on Carlos King's podcast, and I am flabbergasted that she justifies this behavior by saying, she's like, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, girl, you always embarrassed. Cliff's always embarrassed you. She justifies Cliff's behavior by saying we all share each other's locations. She's like, every morning I wake up and I look at where all my family's location. We share everybody's location. I'm like, girl, that doesn't seem normal. That you look at your mom and everybody's location has to be shared. Like, if you feel like all your family has to share locations with each other, you need therapy to figure out why you need to be this ridiculously overprotective of everybody in your family. That's ridiculous. Number two, the fact that she excuses what he does by saying stuff like, oh, he's just he cares about me, and it's not, and he was upset. He thought I was betraying him. And I'm like, ma'am, this was abusive behavior. And the fact that Carlos is like, I mean, I know that Carlos is trying to be an interviewer, but he plays up so much to people's sides to the point that he doesn't even ask like real questions by saying, ma'am, you do know that this is abusive behavior, right? Like, and this is in public. He's gripping you up in public. I mean, you do know that he's treating you like a child. And the fact that the fact that she even says that she doesn't really like kids, but she likes the grandkids being in the house or whatever. And I'm like, but then you talking about you're going to get pregnant by spring? Why would you want to get pregnant? Why would you be working on children when you don't you don't like children? Like, it, trust and believe it does not get better. Like and finally, production. There comes a point that I think that production has to step in. And I'm like, this may be a moment, production, that you have to step in, because they I'm sure that they probably, what, after this, you get in the car together. Like, she has to go home to this. Like, if he's this angry in public, gripping her up in public, are you sure that you don't put your hands on her behind closed doors? Like, ma'am. And I know that she's going to say, I'm going to always be here for my husband and all of this stuff, but you sound abused. And because he didn't, none of the way that he spoke, not near none of this was he felt comfortable. He didn't hesitate at all. So anyway, I don't know. I find it very suspicious, and in the confessional, he justifies his behavior. He doesn't think that he did anything wrong. So Cliff, you're an abuser, and I'm not saying that allegedly. It's on film. You should not be speaking to you shouldn't be speaking to people that way, let alone your wife that way. And you're doing so in public. Okay. Josh does make a point about like this marriage and talking about you have to ask for permission for him to go somewhere. And I will say this, that in a marriage, you can't just you shouldn't be acting like you're single, where you just come and go and do whatever. Yeah, you're an adult, but when you're married, you should be considerate of each other. But I will also say that Cliff doesn't seem like the person that even gives you space to be considerate. He gives you he seems like he wants to control your goings and comings and everything. Let's move on to Letitia. Letitia and Glenn came back together. They supposedly had sex just after the what do we call it? They supposedly had sex just after the reunion. And Glenn was upset because, first of all, Glenn is hilarious, even though I disagree with Glenn, but Glenn is hilarious. He's upset because he had to wear a condom, and he's like, you think that I'm a trick? You think that I'm out here doing whatever? Letitia's like, I don't know what you be doing. And he's like, $40. He's like, you act like it's $40 to pay a person on a check. And I was like, wait a second. Prostitutes are only making $40 to have intercourse? Shouldn't you? What kind of prostitute are you paying for $40? I imagine that if you paying $40 for a prostitute to have sex, that I think you should check yourself out because that seems like a very low number. Am I mean, I've never paid money for a prostitute, but I'm just thinking that I think I'd put a higher dollar value on this than $40. Um, anyway, Leticia, whichever, moves out again because moves out to her mother's house. I don't like how her language, there's a thin line between self-confidence and um and whatever she's doing. And when she's making a comment by saying, I'm a woman who has standards, um, and then she makes a statement that um and he's entertaining people from the village. Ma'am, if you're a woman who has standards, I'm gonna let you know. If you leave your man, you do not have to move in with your mother. And if you're like, well, I'm just moving in temporarily, no. I'm gonna let you know. If you're a woman who is so up at the tippity top, then you would be able to rent a bed, a beer Airbnb, a house on the Airbnb with you and your son. You wouldn't be moving home with your mom. You'd be able to move to a 2-bedroom suite in somebody's hotel. You would not be living in your mom's house. So spare me where you have to put other people down because he's talking to people on social media and you calling them the village. You don't have to put people down just because you are upset that Glenn is talking to them. Okay? That's unnecessary. They're at this trampoline place and they're talking and he's upset that they're not going to get back together. But anyway, I don't understand even Letitia's point talking about she doesn't want to feel indebted to him. Ma'am, you're married. You've been with him since high school or right out of high school. So this whole I don't want to feel indebted to him. He was with you when you were clearly a part of the village. Okay. Saguchi. Oh, I can skip ahead. Letitia does this whole they go with Soguchi and Maria looking for a place. They looking at this 2-bedroom townhouse. I mean, I don't like the inside, but I mean you can change the inside. And honestly, I think that this is for play. So there's that. Um this is when Saguchi tells about Latrice closing on her building with another agent. So Gucci's upset with Latrice. Latrice explains that so Gucci's building didn't go through, and so she had to go talk to somebody else, as another agent to kind of do this. She also explains this on Carlos King. And I understand where Letitia's coming from, where Gucci showed her one building, that one building didn't go through. She didn't show her any other buildings. She didn't follow up. And so Gucci didn't follow up with Latrice. Latrice didn't follow up with So Gucci. And so Latrice is like, I'm gonna find somebody else. Um, Carlos King was like, I've done the same thing, but you know what I did? I contacted them and say, hey, it's not gonna work out. I'm gonna go with somebody else. That's because Latrice doesn't value people as friends. And so Gucci she didn't see her as a friend. She saw her as somebody that she was getting to know clearly for the show. And so therefore she didn't want to take the time to explain to So Gucci that she found another possibility. Because that would have been too much like right and considerate. And she's not right or considerate. And 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 so Gucci should have known better too, because So Gucci wasn't doing her job. So all is fair in two people who are doing everything for play for the show. So so Gucci comes to home to this romantic dinner. JJ's looking like a hot mess. I can't get over his hair. I think I'd cut it in the middle of the night. He is a fool. He is hilarious. His personality has to be the thing that people are attracted to because, ma'am, I would not believe that he liked just me. I won. And then this dude does the dinner, this lobster talk, and is half naked and everything else. He does all this on film, um, to tell her he wants his mom to move in. Sir, you want to be an empty nester. You're happy with the empty nester because you can go butt naked everywhere. But then your mom's gonna move in, just letting you know you're not gonna be able to go butt naked everywhere. Damon and Tambra. We are still this whole season, it's like we're getting back to, is Demond single? Tambra, I don't look like Tambra may be the one who has somebody else. So she wants to have a female space by moving out and having an apartment or something just for her. I'm struggling with the whole thing of they haven't had sex in 2 months. Um, if you don't want to be with him, can you just say, I don't want to be with you? I'm letting you know that if you move out, consider this a breakup. You haven't had sex with him in 2 months. It's not because you had a baby and you trying to get pregnant and you're gonna move out to have an apartment with someplace else or a condo someplace else. I'm just letting you know. Consider yourself broken up and consider himself looking for somebody else. Or are we just doing TV relationships? Because this don't make any sense to me. And then finally, Akeisha, she's doing the Fair Street proposal. Her she's seems like she's getting further down this road. Simultaneously, her husband is off in New York with the football season, and Tambia clearly and her are not very cool. Keisha looks stressed out dealing with these two babies all the time. I feel you because you having two babies under the age of what, 4? That's a lot, especially when your husband is out of town. Do you have any help? I'm gonna need you to have a nanny because this is too much. And I think that's it. Yay. And we will see you for the next episode. I think this is season 3. So we'll see you for the next episode.